I can remember the first time I heard someone say they had gotten a download, and I wasn't sure what they meant by that. In my world at that time, a download was, buying a song or, maybe putting a TV show on your iPad so that you could watch it later. So, what is a download? Welcome back to Soulful Wonderings, the space where we search for meaning in everyday life and honor the lessons that help us grow. I'm Heather and I'm your host. And before we get started, we would love it if you would subscribe to our podcast. You can also head over to our socials and follow us there, and you can find all of that in the show notes. So today we're talking about something that gets mentioned a lot in spiritual spaces, but I'm not sure that it's always explained. Maybe we just assume that everyone knows what that means, but that's downloads. You'll hear people say something like, I got a download about this, or source showed me XYZ, creator gave me this message. Okay. And if you're newer to spiritual work, you might be thinking, what the heck does that mean? What do you mean? Is it a voice? Is it a vision? Is it a thought? Is it intuition? Is it your imagination? How do you know the difference? So today I wanted to get into what that really means, hopefully in a practical sense. So basically talking about what a download is, how it shows up, what it feels like, and then what do you do with it? Okay, so here's the truth. At its simplest, a download is really just a knowing. To me, what makes it hard to discern at times is that it may be kind of sudden and out of the blue. It's just all of a sudden there. For me, it could also happen in a meditation, which that makes a lot more sense because, I'm in that zone and I'm focused. But the other ones are just, it's just all of a sudden there, and I'm kind of sometimes I'm caught a little bit off guard. You know what I mean? Because you'll find yourself in the middle of something. Maybe it's as simple as a conversation, or maybe I'm working on a project, and like I said, just all of a sudden, it's just there. And there are times where it is truly sudden and very unexpected, and those are the hardest ones for me to try and figure out. But the truth is, it's information, it's insight, or just an understanding that seems to arrive just all at once. And there's no logical, step by step thinking about it. It's just there. In that moment, your awareness has expanded. You didn't figure it out. You didn't analyze it. You just know. Some people consider this communication from God, source, creator, higher self, guides, the universe. I think the label probably depends on the person, but generally that's where they feel like it's coming from, is this higher source. There are some people that simply feel like this was just kind of intuitive clarity. People that don't necessarily consider themselves in a spiritual place, quote unquote spiritual space. But they're sensitive, and they have that sixth sense about things. You know what I mean? To me, when you talk about this and talk about it in this way, this is a perfect example of we're all using different language, but we're having a similar experience. You know what I mean? So yeah, I think it depends on the person, how they describe it. But it's really all the same thing. And what's interesting to me is it's not hearing instructions. Okay. It's more like receiving a full packet of understanding, but you're doing it in an instant. How can you, okay, think of it like a computer and that someone shared a file with you, right? There's not instructions, it's not step by step anything. They just put a file on your server, right? Okay, so, and that file is complete. It has all the answers, all the things that you need are in that file. Okay, so think of getting a download as kind of like your brain got a file transfer. And I think that's something that can throw people a little bit, that a lot of the time the download is actually pretty subtle. Do you know what I mean? It's not this dramatic, oh my goodness moment, although when I look back on it, I know mine certainly, a lot of mine certainly feel like at least an aha moment. You know what I'm saying? Where I get it and I go, oh, now I get it. I understand now. A lot of mine are like that. But still, the download itself is often very subtle, very subtle. And, people will experience a download kind of in different ways. It may be just sudden clarity where something that was confusing, you were trying to figure out, just kind of instantly makes sense. Or a fully formed idea appears. Do you know what I mean? It's not a half thought. It's a complete concept that's just there, making sense to you right in that moment. I love those. Another way is an inner knowing, but without words. I think most of us have had this one, to be honest. You just understand something, but you can't explain how. And I actually get this one a fair amount. Body sensations could be things like a sudden chill, feeling a warmth, maybe a pressure in the head, or an expansion in the chest. Now, I tend to be a very visual learner, and that's how I usually get my intuitive hits as well. We talked about that another time, but you may get visual flashes or images that sort of flash in your head, and they most likely symbolize something to you. When you see this thing, it means this to you. You can equate it to this thing. So it may be that. It may be that a visual flashes in your head. One other one I've seen a bit is sort of a stream of insight that just quickly unfolds for you. I have that happen a lot where it's just this constant stream of understanding of and again, a lot of people would say that's intuition, but where it's just a constant reading of a situation or a reading of a person, and I'm just steadily getting this insight of who they are and why they're doing what they're doing, and it's just coming to me almost rapid fire. And a lot of times people think that's intuition, and it kind of is, but it's because you're trusting it, and it's being downloaded. Creator's telling me what I need to know about this person or situation as I'm in it. What I find interesting is that often you may not even realize until later that it was a download because the information you got kind of keeps proving true. Do you know what I mean? You keep seeing the same things or patterns that indicate the things that you downloaded. You really can't ignore it when that happens either. Well, I mean, I guess you can, but it's lots more fun not to. But I feel like downloads have a different quality than regular thinking, if that makes sense. They often feel calm. It's neutral and clear and direct. There's no emotion with it, and it feels complete. Even if the message is big, it usually doesn't feel chaotic. Like I said, it feels calm. So downloads, they don't argue, they don't spiral, they don't panic. They just arrive. Think of it like thinking feels like talking to yourself, right? A download feels like remembering something you forgot you knew. So now let's discuss downloads versus ego, anxiety, or imagination. How many times have we heard that? Oh, it's just your imagination. No, it's not. And I feel like this is the question everyone really wants answered, isn't it? How do you know it's not just all in your mind, as people would say? So here are some differences. Anxiety is loud and urgent. Those of you who've ever had anxiety, y'all know what I'm talking about. It is loud and it takes you over. Downloads, on the other hand, are steady and clear. Your ego tries to convince you, where a download simply states what it wants to convey. When it's not a download, you tend to have loops of overthinking. Do you know what I mean? But a download, it's just going to land once and feel complete in that moment. And here's the truth. Imagination requires effort. You have to think it through and kind of keep it going, right? Okay, what happens next kind of thing. But a download, it just feels received. It doesn't feel like it's been constructed. It's just there. Also, a download will rarely flatter your ego. You know, if it's ego, you know it'll be in our favor. Am I right? Downloads, however, are usually, they're practical, they're grounding, and they're growth oriented, right? So why do people receive downloads? Because they often come when have you ever noticed you're quiet, you're relaxed, you've asked a sincere question, maybe you're ready for some new awareness. You know, the time has come for you to get that answer to that thing. You've released control. You're asking for direction, and you're ready to get that direction. You're ready to receive it, you know, because you've been integrating your growth. You've been integrating that into your life. And so now it's time for the next thing. Like I said, for that new awareness or that next direction. But stillness is one of the biggest doorways for a download to come through. Your mind has to, you have to sort of soften it and allow this to happen. You know, you have to allow for that insight to drop in. So if you have received some insight, received a download, I have a couple recommendations. I recommend that you pause, that you notice it. Make note of what it feels like when it happened. Write it down if you can so that you don't forget it later, right? Write down what happened. Don't analyze it. Don't do any of that. We're not there. Just write it down so you don't forget it. Write down exactly what happened. And try not to dismiss it, okay? Because later you're going to go, what was that again? So don't dismiss it. Just let it happen. And just let it kind of unfold over time. I find many of the downloads that I've gotten as maybe that day has progressed or a couple days have progressed, that I'm seeing it unfold more and more. You know, I got the initial download and like we said, I start to see the patterns. I start to see that same message repeating. And it just gradually starts to become clear, and it starts to make sense, and it starts to just unfold in my mind. And sometimes that happens over a little bit of time. Not every download is going to require that you take any kind of action. Okay? That's not necessarily what it's there for. What it's most likely doing is inviting awareness. So if you've ever had a moment where something just clicked or understanding just arrived out of nowhere, you may have experienced a download. So if you want to work on things like recognizing your intuitive signals more clearly, or just getting to know yourself a little better and what some of this means in your world, you know, that's things we can explore together. And I would love it if you were to reach out. I would love to discuss it with you. And there are ways that you can find me. Take a look in the show notes. That way you can find all my socials and all the ways to get in contact. I want to leave you with a thought. Awareness doesn't always come slowly. Sometimes it arrives just in an instant. And our only job in that moment is to notice it. So I hope this helps you understand those moments where you're getting a message a little better. But if this is something that you want to explore, you want to learn more about recognizing your own intuitive signals and things like that, this is something that we can explore together. I would love to hear from you. I'd love to work with you and maybe help you with those things. There are ways for you to reach out to me in the show notes. So take a look and feel free to reach out. I would love to hear from you. Thank you for being here today. And until next time, stay curious.